Dr. Potter, the Higher Education Act they're looking at reauthorization of that act. What would you like to see in the reauthorization?
Honestly, when I think about first-generation college students, I want to see an increase in Pell. And summer Pell, quite frankly, because our students have to go to school year-round. Many of them are working 2 part-time jobs or a full-time job, not just to support themselves, but their families. And the reality is that everything that we can do as a country to increase Pell, to reduce the cost, those are the kinds of things that will be significant.
The Orange Man has, in deference to Malik, I won't call him the Orange Orangutan. The Orangutan lobby has asked me not to do that. But the Orange Man is trying to go up in the Pell money and use it and divert some of it. I don't want to get you on a political bandwagon, but what do you say about that?
I really think that sometimes people are making decisions without information. And the reality for me is that before decisions are made, we have 3 branches of government. And, the executive branch can put forward what it is that they want, but the legislative branch needs to act according to how people voted for them. And so that would be kind of my balance, if you will. The idea that acting without information leads to uninformed decisions.
Dr. Potter, you are so diplomatic. I love it. I'm going to bring my panel into the conversation. Cleo Manago, you posted something today on Facebook about increased graduation rates for young black men in Chicago. And this really fits into some of what Dr. Potter is talking about. Tell us a bit about the story about how young black men are graduating more frequently in Chicago than they were, let's say, a decade ago.
Well, I think it's important to highlight that type of information because, as I said in my post, you won't hear it on CNN or ABC or the other channels that this is occurring. Or we hear about Chicago that people are getting shot. But there's some successful programs on the high school and college level in Chicago that are leading to disproportionate amounts of black men and women graduating to college.
It's like a 10% gap over a 10-year period, from 63 to like 75, yeah.
And what's significant or relevant to that is how these schools have implemented cultural affirmation and getting the young people to feel good about living in the body that they live in so they can be focused enough to concentrate on the cognitive information that's coming because instead of being distracted by self-doubt. And I was wondering while you were speaking, here in D.C., do you have programs that address organic intelligence and cultural affirmation and those kinds of elements to help keep our people connected to academics?
So I would say, having been on the job for 90 days, there are clear...
whole 90 days?
A whole 90 days,
yeah. But to answer your question, I think that we find cultural affirmation not only in the classroom, but outside of the classroom,
Absolutely.
Right? Students spend only about 30% of their time in a college education in the classroom. It's about what are we doing outside of the classroom? What are those wraparound services? And fortunately, the University of the District of Columbia we're responding in a proactive way, right? We are creating the spaces for commuter students to be able to sit in the library and study so that they don't have to detach themselves from the campus to go home. We are also looking at, how do you build in Women's History Month activities and Black History Month activities and Native American History Month activities and tie that to the curriculum so that there's the co-curricular aspect of rounding out what our students are having. And so I think in many regards, because our students are not the 18 to 22-year-olds, we are very proactive and intentional about what it is that we're trying to deliver in the wraparound services.
Kellye, Dr. Potter just talked about Women's History Month, and there's some real challenges that women are having in terms of matriculating in higher education, especially single moms, women who have other kinds of challenges. One of the challenges I found when I was president at Bennett is that how do you provide childcare for students? What's your perspective? You've been so passionate in talking about women's issues, so tell me your perspective on how, with all this financial aid trauma, women can matriculate and, frankly, thrive.
I think that the approach that Dr. Potter is taking from a holistic perspective is absolutely brilliant because you have to take in consideration exactly what your students need. And if large body of your student population is women. What do women need? You need childcare. You need access to feminine products in the restroom. You need adequate feminine products in the restroom. You need education on sexual ed. I know that with UDC, the age is a lot higher in terms of the average age, so I'm sure they know. But like just traditional schooling, some of these kids are coming in from, who knows where. They didn't
Young
have
people, they don't like to be called kids.
You're a kid.
They do not like to be called kids.
You're a baby. Young adults, I apologize. But at the same time, nevertheless, even though they did just come through K through 12, a lot of them don't know about their own bodies yet, and this is actually the prime time that they're about to go explore them. So having the resources to feel safe enough to ask those questions to somebody who knows what they're talking about, that's definitely something that women could benefit from. I would also encourage, self-care techniques. I know a lot of young women who were in undergrad, at least when I was there, dealt with depression, dealt with, some really traumatic things, including rape and molestation and things like that. Having a safe space to talk about those things on top of, more curricula about women, that's definitely something that could be taken into consideration.
Well, one of the things UDC does, I'm a member of the UDC family through my television program, Malvo, exclamation point, because whenever you see me, there is an exclamation point.
True.
But in any case, one of the things that UDC does is that there's a Center for Diversity and Inclusion that really does, a young sister, Trinice McNally, really has done a lot of really great work in providing those kind of services. Now, Melik, you and Dr. Potter are homeboys.
Yes.
So
Mississippi. Even went to college together in Alabama. Well, I have to say, just right off the bat, that we are so proud of you.
Well, thank you.
We are so proud of you. And the fact
So
that
Melik will behave for you. He ain't been behaving for me, but he'll behave for you.
I mean, your credentials speak for themselves, but the fact that you brought that talent to the University of the District of Columbia, which happens to be the school that I actually finally received my degree from, because I'm one of those who went back later on in life. And so the steps that UDC has taken have been tremendous, and I so value you being there. So I just want to say, from Mississippi, thank you, brother. But to your point, you raised a very good point about exploring other avenues as far as just our education. In the District of Columbia here, they just have an infrastructure academy, and what that does, it trains them for a lot of the vocational. So whether you're talking about plumbing, carpentry, electric work, these are actual. I have a friend of mine, Perry, who is participating in the district's apprenticeship program. Perry's from Southeast DC, Condon Terrace. Perry's from Southeast DC, but this brother is making a life for himself and his family by applying, and he's actively engaged in it. He does construction, he does plumbing, but this brother is proud of the work that he does. And so if we can just get more of those type of opportunities out there, you can make a middle-class living outside of just graduating from college.